I've felt really, really well in the net since I've been here. Leading in, had real good sessions against our quicks at Beckenham, and I felt like, Lords was probably the best I've probably batted, the last sort of 2 years, just holding my line. And, I feel that, we've batted probably in the toughest conditions so far, besides Leeds, where we, lost a lot of wickets, through some just basic errors. And yeah, in Leeds, I've probably got two good balls. I think the first one I was sort of covering sort of the ball that comes back in off the seam, with Broady. So, when he puts those balls in those areas as a left-hander, you've got to be mindful of the one that comes back in. So you always hold your line, and if it gets the outside edge, it gets the outside edge. So you can't really do too much about that. So I think if in hindsight, you always look back at the dismissals and go, oh, I probably could have cover drive that, but then you probably can't because of the length as well. So you just got to take it on the chin. Can't do anything about it.
And Davey, I don't know if you read Stuart Broad's columns, but on Sunday he wrote how hard it is to bowl to you. Opening the batting, facing an opening bowler, he's going to get you out. That's the nature of the beast. How is it facing Stuart Broad? It's the $1 million question.
I always love facing not just Broady, but any fast bowler, because they've got to hit the mark from the get-go. As a batter, it's probably the time where you feel like you might get an easy one off your pads to get off strike. You might get a long half volley and put one away. But if they're on from ball one, it can be challenging. And I think in Test match cricket, we know it well enough. If a bowler keeps bowling a lot of deliveries at you, one's going to have your name on it. So you've always got to look to try and upset his line and length. And credit to Broady, the last sort of 2 series I played against him, he's bowled extremely well. He's not really missed that mark. And he's probably seen that at Lords, where I've been walking at him, been going across, trying to put him off his line and length. And if you don't last longer than an over, it's very hard to do that. So, you've got to be mindful of that. You've got to adapt when you're out there. You've got to be brave. And I think, just in general, the last 2 years, his record against left-handers and top order batters has been, phenomenal. And that's credit to him in the way that he's bowled.
Yeah, can you talk us through sort of some of the things you're thinking, and how much of that matchup is in your mind, or do you sort of try and put it behind you, or are you sort of trying to be proactive and make sure that, as you say, you're sort of covering your stunts?
Yeah, you don't really think about the matchup. You're just thinking about that ball that's coming at you, and where it's going to be placed and how you're looking to score. He bowls the ball in a great area all the time, and I think there's pros and cons as well in the game, where we've got two left-handed opening batters. So he's, if not the best bowler to left-hand batters in today's game. He's so good at it. And, you've got Jimmy as well, who's there. These guys are guys that we've watched for a long time, we've played against for a long time. One of you are going to have the upper hand on the day. Whichever country it is, you're going to have the upper hand maybe in the series, but you've still got to come back. I always face the first ball in the first innings, and that's what I love about this game, is we get to come back again if you're selected, and then you go in there and you tackle it. And some days you're going to have a good day, and some days you're going to have a bad day. So, for me, I don't look at it like it's a challenge. It's just another game of cricket for me that I get an opportunity to try and score runs against, a great attack.
I'm just going to ask Davey about, you've announced that you're going to retire from the Test game in Sydney just after the new year. I remember when I was thinking about retirement, I lost a little bit of the edge in my last few games. I just, was going out there to kind of get to the end. Do you feel that you're as sharp as ever still playing now, even though that you're coming to the end?
Yeah, I do feel sharp still, and I think I'm probably working harder than ever in the nets. I think as you get older, you've almost, you put in as hard as you can when you first start. Through the middle, when you can have your breaks, and you feel like you're in good form, and you can have that time sort of, doing other things, whether it's playing golf or whatnot. And now I think towards the back end, I'm working harder because I feel like I need to have that routine and rhythm to get back into the flow when I get out there. So it's almost been like a plan in a way to try and plan your career and going through the motions. 'Cause I think when you get out, people go, all right, let's go and face 1 million balls in the nets. That's not me. I don't do that. I find peace going out in the golf course. I think that helps me on the field because I'm relaxed. But now I think when you're in England, I think you have to do the work. It's you go out there, even when if you're on 100 or whatever you are, there's always going to be a ball with your name on it because something does happen, whether it's the clouds coming in, or you just get a good one. So I feel like you need to work extra harder over in England, especially.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, do you think England's the hardest place to bat, particularly
Yeah,
at the top?
yeah, no, definitely. I think because in Australia the ball moves around a little bit, but it probably moves more off the seam, or off the wicket than sort of in the air. So here it moves in the air and it can seam both ways now. I feel like with the flatter wickets, it might sound a little bit silly, but with the flatter wickets, the wicket's harder. So I feel like the ball is sharp off the wicket both ways. Where if the wicket is sort of a little bit grassier, it's slow seam, so you can actually just adjust. Here it's more like it really darts back in. So I'm finding that difficult from when I first ever came over here in 2013, where it was real slow swing but big swing, and now no one really tries to swing the ball as much. They just try and seam it.
David, why have you decided now is the time to retire?
Oh, I think there's just way too much talk about it, to be honest. I was sick of listening to it. Every single press conference I did, Warner's out, he's doing this, he's doing that. And I'm like, look, I'll just set an end date. Everyone can get on with cricket. It's about the team, it's not about me. We've got the World Cup coming up as well after this Test match series. We've got a lot of white ball cricket before the end of the summer as well. So as you're just going back to then Vaughany as well, it is that mindset. It is that, getting up every day, going to training. I think when you do lose that spark, that's probably when the time is to call it. And as I said before, at the moment, I've still got it. I love the game. It owes me nothing. I owe it a lot. So for me, if I can keep giving back and putting performances on the board, it'll probably prolong me for a little bit longer.
Davey, Instagram.
Yep.
You're very prominent on Instagram, whether that's dancing with your girls, Bollywood style dancing. But last night you posted, when my circle got smaller, my vision got clearer. There's strength in loyalty, not numbers, and it's a pack of wolves. And there you've put, don't be fooled.
Yep.
What did you mean by that?
So don't be fooled is just something that I always put with a few things, and that's a long story. That's just between me and my mates. But no, that is more about, since starting cricket, a lot of my friends have sort of come into a tight knit group, and I think for me, along the journey, you've always had people who have sort of hung on, and I think everyone gets that at the start of your career. And a lot of my circle has been cut down, and I've really navigated into sort of who I can trust and who I can stick by, and who has my back all the time. And that was just more about, when I post things like that or post things about the Lions, it's a message to my friends and my people saying I appreciate their support, and I love them. So the don't be fooled thing is it's more for, you'll see my Instagrams with me at the gym. You'll see me, I don't know, pretending I might be in New York when I'm not, or somewhere. and there's no other meaning towards that besides me and my friends, and we all have jokes.
David, you're known for having quite a combative temperament, but equally you're I mean, if you go on the statistics, you're easily the best opener in the modern era. Are those two things linked?
I think being competitive is a big thing. I think you got to be brave. So I've always had this. Well, I think it's a nice cliche, but I think if you have the fear of failure, I reckon you're going to fail. And for me, I've never had any fear of failing. So I feel like every game I go out there from game one could be my last. So when you open the batting, you're going to get out, and you could get out first ball of the game. So for me, I've always had that instinct just to keep going out there and back myself and play my way. And, for me, I used to try and get into the bowlers a little bit, I've sort of calmed down a lot since my younger days. So for me, I used to, play a shot, hit a boundary, and go past the bowler and say, "Oh, that was a long hard volley," or what to get up next, or just to get that competitiveness. It's hard when you're out there. Like there's no sledging in the game today. I don't see it. I don't hear it. And I feel like the banter's sort of gone a little bit because of all the franchise cricket. But you can still have banter with people out there. But back then when I started, it was more like, I had a lot of people who didn't like me on the field. That's the way that I played. That's the way that I got up and about. And I had to get into that contest. And I felt that's the way I got the best out of myself. And it probably didn't look good from afar. But now, like, it's you find different ways to get in and out there, like singing songs in your head, and there's a lot of other ways to get yourself going when you're out there.
What, David? What song do you sing?
Well, Broad is gonna get ya. The Holly
reverse psychology.
I've got that in my mind. Well, I love it.
That's what. If I said, who is the real David Vaughan? Because we've just spoken about your career. You've had your ups and downs, but I think people are starting to understand who you are more now. But if you had to describe yourself of who is the real David Vaughan, who is he?
Yeah, look, well, quite clearly, I'm a father of three. Married with a wife, beautiful wife, and I think for me, I'm a very loyal person. If you're, whether or not you're in my team or you're a mate or a family member, I've always got your back no matter what. I'll give my last dollar to anyone that needed it, because that's just the way that I was brought up. I grew up in Housing Commission. We talk about having to fight for a lot of things. It's not the right word, but you did. Back in the day, you had to really work hard. And I've had that in me from basically 9 months when I had to start working and help pay the bills. So for me, that's loyalty is the biggest thing. And I think anyone that doesn't know me and would love to have a beer, I'm always here to have a beer and have a laugh. And that's me.